So I'm going to invite the three discussants up, and as they approach thank you very much, the podium, I'll introduce them. Brian Courtney, just passing in front of me. Dr. Brian Courtney is interventional radiologist at Sunnybrook.
I'm Bo. He had to send a better person.
Oh, I'm sorry. Apologize. Linda Maxwell, MD from Yale. Resident in otolaryngology, that's where I came to know Linda, here at the University of Toronto, and continues to practice as a surgeon, executive director now of Biomedical Zone, a biomedical development program and business incubator. So welcome, Bo.
The one and only.
The one and only. Executive chairman, Canavi Medical.
So I'm actually taking Brian's place.
Okay.
So I'm
Maybe you should introduce yourself.
my name's Amin Tind. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Canavi Medical, and I'm one of the co-founders along with Brian, who unfortunately could not be here today. But thank you.
Wonderful. So perhaps I'll give 5 minutes or 2 minutes, 3 minutes to each one of you to make some comments. Linda, why don't you start?
Yeah, I'm just delighted to start. Thank you. I thought it was a great debate. I think the reversal of fortunes is indicative of how, how divided people can be on this. But actually, I think at the end of the day, and I'm not going to argue the existential value of value-based care and whether that's the right solution for our problems, but staying within the context of the debate, I think it actually comes down to four things. And overall, I would suggest, if I'm going to reveal my position, I don't think it's actually going to make companies leave Canada, full disclosure, but I think it comes down to four things. I think it comes down to data and analytics. I think it comes down to business model, infrastructure, and then funding. And so I'll go through very quickly the four pillars that I think will determine whether value-based care works or not for startups. And full disclosure, I work predominantly with startups, so less so with scaling companies, and I agree with you, Lahav, they're almost two different entities. But nevertheless, I think, and Rifat alluded to it in his excellent talk, that I think value-based care can work wonderfully, but it really relies on data. It relies on having mature structures to collect, to evaluate, to disseminate and share data with young entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of any ilk, really, so that people can get on people can have a shared understanding of what the actual care continuum is. Right now, we sort of operate in a framework of problem-solution, and that's the traditional business model. You have a problem, you create a piece of tech, a device for the solution, and you're paid for that device, and that's it. So I think it's a challenge to entrepreneurs to really understand the entire care continuum and where they can add value. But I actually think that opens up the opportunities for companies to find different places to insert themselves. But they won't be able to do it if they don't have access in a very transparent and efficient way to the data, to the outcomes that we're trying to impact. The second is a business model. So I started talking about the fact that in the old days, or right now, if you create a device, you're paid for it, and that's kind of the end of the story. But there's going to need to be a new way of thinking about business, of thinking about entrepreneurship with respect to medical devices. And in fact, it may lead to a much more rational marketplace than it is right now, where a single device, which is an incremental improvement, can cost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars with questionable benefit. So a change in business model and companies really being able to articulate the value story will be imperative to them staying and doing well in Canada. The third is the infrastructure. So this sort of follows along with data. Their institutions, whether they're primary care or hospitals, are not mature in how they deal with, frankly, with startups and small companies. And they're even less mature when it comes to dealing with value-based care and the intersection with entrepreneurship. So I think there will need to be some maturity in the institutions and how they work with companies. And then the final issue or challenge, and this exists right now, is always funding. It's very difficult for small companies and scaling companies to actually fund their activities. It will become even more challenging for them to fund their work in a value-based care setting, to be able to access data, use it, create solutions that actually fit in the care continuum is a very costly offering. And so there needs to be not just improved seed capital and early stage and Series A, but also for the companies that actually do make it down the care continuum, the scaling, the Series B, and the ability to help these companies grow. So I think the funding will have to become much more organized and much more accessible, and much sort of more risk-loving than it is right now. So that's what I'm going to say, and thanks. Great job.